on behalf of IBM, I am really quite honored, but I have to say, we all talked about this, and don't feel that even our generation alone should accept this award at IBM. That I think back, and it actually belongs to the IBMers, all IBMers, but as much the past IBMers as it does now the present IBMers. Because if this award begins anywhere, I actually think it begins with our history. And so just a couple words on that. I think you'll find these numbers sort of remarkable. It was 83 years ago that we opened up our first education for professional women in technology. It was 1942 that we had our very first vice president who was a woman in IBM. And it was 1967 that we decided that how we would hire, it would be by testing for aptitude, not for gender. And in the 60s, that led to then 20,000 women going into programming in the United States. So I have to say, it's a legacy that I just don't take for granted. I don't take for granted, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm a beneficiary of that legacy. And so I thought tonight maybe I'd tell just a little brief story about myself and my being this legacy. And it starts many, many years ago. I won't tell you my age, although my husband reminds me that's public data. That many, many years ago, and I had been early in my job, I had a very good boss, and he had moved on to a new role. And he decided I'd make a great successor for him. And so he called me in to offer me that role, and my reaction was, let me think about that a while. And I went home and I talked to my husband, and I said, look, I'm not ready for this job. I haven't done this before, I need a few more years, I should think about it, I should tell him I should wait. And my husband, who I'm still married to almost 40 years, at the time he said, he kind of listens, and he said, do you think a man would have answered it that way? I said no. And I went in the next day and I took that job. And my boss at the time, I took the job, and he looked at me and he said, don't ever do that again. And I said, I understand. Now, I usually tell this story, we talked about it over cocktails. I often tell that story when I'm talking to women about examining their own behavior, and it led me to believe this thought about growth and comfort never coexist. And to grow, you will never be comfortable. But I tell it to you tonight for a very different reason. The fact that I was offered that role as a young woman is actually unremarkable at IBM. It's unremarkable. And to me, the fact that it's unremarkable makes it really remarkable, actually. And it's a culture we need to keep. Now, I know I'm the last speaker, but I therefore wanted to say one more thing about this. Because let me also say that I think so much more is required, particularly in the technology sector, so much more. And the inclusion that IBMers take for granted is not achieved by any stretch in the rest of the technology industry. And diversity in tech is going to be important to all of us, no matter what your job is, because the work in the workforces of tech, they're shaping society. So they're shaping what you read, they're shaping the games you play, they're shaping the searches, what you get as an answer. And so as we develop, I think, this next systems, the next generation of systems, be mindful. These will be systems that we don't program, they're gonna learn. And think about that. It's critical that those systems learn from unbiased data, or we will end up with decisions biased by all the data of our history. So we're at the beginning of a new moment, and the cultures I believe we choose to keep and build now will really have a lasting impact. So let me end this by urging my industry and all of us with tech departments, tech groups, data scientists, no matter what they are, to look beyond representation and consider the societal stakes of what's involved if we don't address diversity and inclusion in technology. So I want to act and actually end with that as a call to action. I think it's imperative for the next generation of diversity and inclusion. So again, let me thank you, and on behalf of as you heard there, the 360,000 IBMers, Catalyst and all, we're very proud, actually to be the 4th time we've gotten this award. So it's a big milestone for us. Thank you. So let me